Hi everyone, my name's Gabriel and I'm going to give you an introduction to some of the exciting new features in AVA's latest release, 5.5. First of all, 5.5 is fully compatible with Apple's new operating system, macOS 11 Big Sur. It brings a fresh new look to Apple, and AVA 5.5 has been designed to integrate nicely with this, including some redesigned modern icons which you can see here in the toolbar. The minimum system requirements for 5.5 is macOS 10.14 Mojave. We do always recommend you keep up to date with macOS updates in order to achieve the best operational performance. AVA 5.5 introduces an autosave function. Because saving is now done in the background, this significant change to the software means that in the unfortunate event that your computer or AVA crashes, you won't lose your work. For example, I'm working away on this file. You'll see that when I save it using the shortcut, the dot in the top corner disappears. But I can continue to work away on this file using the brush or whatever tool I like. Let's paint a few more brush strokes and we can add a new layer or give it a new color and just fill in a few more details. Okay, and I haven't saved. Now I'm going to simulate what happens if AVA crashes. So unfortunately AVA has crashed. I'm going to relaunch it. Now you can see that even though I didn't actually save these brush marks, I didn't even save this layer, but all the information is still there, so I haven't actually lost any work. And if I don't actually want any of this in my design, I can go to File and revert to saved. Now in AVA 5.5, you'll see a lot of improvements in the handling of Photoshop files. Let's have a look at what we get in AVA 5.5. You can see that I get a different dialog box now with a number of options. So when I open here, I can choose to open all layers, data layers, or the flattened image. If I select all, it means that I'm going to get the data layers and the flattened image. So I'm just going to open data layers because I'm going to work on this in AVA, and it will then become an AVA file. I also have an option here to ignore non-AVA compatible layers such as folders or filter effects. If I'm going to work on this in AVA and it's going to become an AVA file, then I would probably tick that option. If I want to go back to Photoshop in the future, then I probably wouldn't have that ticked, because although AVA doesn't show the preview layers and the folders, etc., if we want to go back to Photoshop, we want to keep them in the file. So I've opened that file. I'll use the shortcut Command-0 so that we can see the whole image. You can see we've got all the layers here. And now to show you what a designer might do, I'm going to crop that a bit bigger and start making my repeat. So I'll put that in 2x2 with a half drop. You can see now that straight away I can grab a motif and move it. I didn't need to unlock it, I didn't have to put a mask on. And straight away I can work with the file to build up a repeat. Again, I get the same options here. This time I'm going to open just the data layers and I'll keep the non-compatible layers in there to show you what we get. So if you remember in the previous version, I was presented with a black file with a lot more layers than in this one. You'll see that if I click, I can just start moving any of these motifs straight away. And you'll see that where there's an incompatible layer type, instead of it having a grid, there's just a no entry sign just to show you that that layer is not supported. If I look in my preferences, there's a separate PSD section here where I can set if I want AVA to ask each time what I want to do with PSD files, or if I know, for example, that I only wanted to see the data layers or the flattened image, I can set that here and it will just open the file without asking me what to do. I'm going to leave it on ask each time. So there's some big improvements here which hopefully should make your life a lot easier if you're a designer working with Photoshop. The next feature is a layout templates feature. You can see here I've got a layout template I've made, and and I've put some dynamic text on to show me the scale. The new feature is that if I've made a template in AVA 5.5, the scale is saved in the template. So if I use the template with a file that is in a different resolution, the scale stays the same as it was in my template. So for example, this template was made for this 508 dpi file. Now if I go to this other file and apply the template, you can see that although the resolution in this file is 300 dpi, my scale is still 100%. And I can confirm that by checking the scale in the toolbar. It also works if you control-click on the design and change the file. It maintains the scale no matter what the resolution is. If you do have a template created in an older version of AVA, you will need to resave it in 5.5 for that to work. So this should be a useful new feature if you're a digital printer and help avoid making errors when printing. Another new feature we'll look at is also in the layout window. I have here 4 identical colorways at the moment. I'm going to use the Inspire window to change the colorways. You'll see at the bottom of the window I've got 2 new options. I can constrain the colors generated to the monitor gamut and constrain colors to the printer gamut. So you're never generating colors that you can't print or that don't display correctly on your monitor. I'm just going to try first without these options ticked to see what happens. It's very small, but I've got some warnings there that I'm creating a color out of gamut. So if I turn those on and start creating colors, you'll see that I haven't got any warnings, and I can make my random colorways but without any unprintable colors. This also works in the Make Colorways menu option. You can constrain to monitor and printed gamuts. In previous versions of AVA, some of the settings in the Set Repeat window were not saved in the document. In AVA 5.5, the status of the frame first repeat and the color used for the frame are now saved in the .ava4 file format. Other characteristics of the setup which are now saved are the status of the borders and also the status of the mirrors in the Set Repeat inspector. Next, we're going to tell you about a new tool called the Stamp Brush. The Stamp Brush allows you to quickly fill up a design with motifs that are repetitive, but change scale and/or orientation at each iteration. To get to it, go to the Carbon Copy tool, click on the little arrow to get a drop-down menu, and select the little paw icon, which is the Stamp Brush. To choose an area you're going to copy, hold down the Option key on your keyboard, drag, and this time I'm using an oval. You can then stamp with that motif you've copied. Use the 1 and 2 keys to make your stamp bigger and smaller. Keys 3 and 4 will allow you to rotate it. You also have the lasso selection available if you want to be a bit more precise. So particularly if you're an engraver or doing some embossed work, hopefully that will be a really useful tool for you. In AVA 5.5, we have built an option into the preferences to send anonymized usage statistics to AVA. What this does is allows us to collect anonymous usage logs, which tells us which parts of the software are most popular, as well as determining which areas could do with improvements for future releases. So by default, this is switched off, but we would be most grateful if you do decide to switch those on, as it will benefit the entire AVA community by helping us to create better versions of the software. So that can be set in AVA Preferences under Feedback. The next feature I'm going to show you relates to the palettes for AVA. The extension for the file format has changed. In previous versions it was called .ava settings, now it's called .ava palette. And the reason it's changed is because the actual file type has changed. And this allows us to now store files within the palette. One example of this is that you can now store ICC profiles within a palette, which makes it possible to share palettes that set printer and monitor profiles with colleagues around the globe, without having to store the profile on the system. Another change is that now when you save with a palette, it will save with the colorway you're viewing, whereas in the previous version, it would always save with the colorway number 1. The final feature, which I'm just going to show you a quick preview of for now, is color correction layers. Colour matching digital prints to analogue production prints, which have gone through various finishing processes such as chemical embossing or lamination, has proven difficult in the past. With AVA 5.5, you can now achieve a better match between these two printing processes by using colour correction layers. So for example, in this file with softproof on, these dark areas are getting very filled in, and I'm losing detail on the stem of this flower here. If I add my colour correction layer, you can see I've got all that detail back where it was going too dark before. So that concludes this new features movie. If you do want to find out more about any of these new features and others that have been added to 5.5, go to AVA Assist from the Help menu in AVA. From the home screen, click on the What's New icon, and from here you'll find a full list of new features as well as links to more in-depth articles in Assist. Also, if you do have any further questions, please contact AVA Technical Support, who will be happy to help you. So that's all. Thanks for watching.